Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I'll admit it to you guys. I am scared. I don't know. I have a lot of anxiety about the election coming up next week. I mean, there's two scenarios. Trump wins, and America turns into something similar to the 1930s, 1940s Germany, or Trump doesn't win and says he won, and he inspires another situation like January 6th, but it makes January 6th look like a walk in the park. Those are the two situations coming up in the next week or two, and it scares me. Just when I think Trump supporters can't get any more vile, whenever I talk to Trump supporters, they talk about how he's a businessman and how he turned this country around, and he's already done it once, he can do it again. Everybody will be happy and rich and safe and happy and rich. America for Americans, yay! And and then I see the stuff like this that I'm going to talk about, the stuff that people that support him say, and it scares me. I can't believe that America has turned into this. People that don't learn from history are condemned to repeat it, and that is one of the truest things I've ever heard, because it seems like it's repeating itself from 1930s, 1940s Germany. Stephen Miller was at this rally. If you ever look at Stephen Miller, he looks, man, he looks like he could be SS Gestapo. I don't mean to stereotype somebody, but if you put that outfit on him, it's very believable. And he said this at the Trump rally. He says, "America is for Americans." And I just thought of the irony about that, because he said this in Madison Square Garden, and not even a mile from where he's standing is the Statue of Liberty. Give us your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, all that. But this is what really got to me. There was other speakers there. There was Dr. Phil. There was Hulk Hogan. But this guy, this Tony Hinchcliffe, never heard of him before. And I hope I never hear of him again. I guess he's got a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of followers on YouTube. Maybe I'll see if I can get some of those followers. I'd love to have some of those followers come here and tell me what they think about this. Some of the supporters, some of his fans. Just because you call yourself a comedian doesn't make it okay to say whatever you want. I could sit here and say, hey, I'm a comedian, I'm kind of funny, and then I could go off on, disgusting racist rants. And no, that's not how it works. The actual clip that I'm going to talk about is right down below in the video description. And if you watch this, a joke has parts. It has the setup, it has the punchline. It's funny. Those are three characteristics of a joke, of a comedian telling a joke. And this has none of that. It's him making racist statements about Puerto Rico. What he basically says is, he says, I can't even repeat. I can't even repeat. The stuff that was said at this rally is just shocking about black people. But Puerto Rico is an actual state. I don't know if they realize this. They're American citizens, and they're going to vote in the presidential election. I can't imagine one Puerto Rican person thinking that this was funny and voting for Donald Trump. I mean, some might, and that's their choice, but I can't imagine it. Also, I want to talk about me. I am French Canadian and Native American, Micmac from Maine. My folk came here from France a couple hundred years ago. Fur trapping, the Micmac Native Americans mixed with the French the French that came over, and I am the result. I am French Canadian Micmac. I remember growing up, and my mother spoke French, Canadian French. Canadian French is nothing like Parisian French. I learned Parisian French. I took 4 years of Parisian French in high school. Canadian, what my mother spoke, was nothing like Parisian French. It's like comparing the way they speak in Brooklyn to the way they speak in London. And that's not even. It's two totally different dialects. Like, my mother couldn't even really help me with my Parisian French when I was taking it in high school. That's how different these languages were. And she spoke French before she spoke English. And I used to go to my grandmother's house when I was young, and I would hear them just rattling off in French, and I'd hear Derol, blah, 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 Derol, and I learned how to speak it, because I heard my name, and, that I learned how to speak the language. And I remember going there and smelling things cooking and seeing the stuff around my grandmother's house, the crucifix, the picture of Jesus. I remember smelling chicken cooking. I remember my mom likes to eat certain delicacies, French Canadian delicacies like fiddleheads, which I think are ferns, like little chicken gizzards. I'm trying to remember what else. And I remember the smell. I remember the smell of cooking chicken and all this stuff, and the warmth and laughing and everything in the kitchen. Like 50 years ago when I used to go to my grandmother's house. And this is going to come important in a second. Okay, so Tony Hinchcliffe, he makes this joke at this Trump rally. He says that Puerto Rico, have you heard there's a floating island of garbage in the Atlantic? I think they call it Puerto Rico. That's his joke. That's the big joke. And then he goes on to say something about how immigrants don't pull out. They have a lot of kids, and they don't pull out just like when they come to America. They don't pull out or leave, or some joke like that. And it gets worse from there. I have a lot of Puerto Rican friends. I've made a lot of Puerto Rican friends in recovery, and I've gone to their house, and I just want to share this with you because it made me realize how similar I am. I remember going the first time visiting one of my friends from recovery. He took me to his home, and I walked in the kitchen, and it reminded me so much of my grandmother's house. I could hear the language being spoken. It was Spanish, of course, but Spanish is very similar to French. And I see the grandmother there, and everybody's laughing, and I could see the chicken and the smells cooking in the kitchen, and I could see the crucifix, and they're Roman Catholic like me, and it could have been my grandmother's house. Except for a few small details that it was Spanish and not Canadian French, and these were Puerto Rican people and not Canadian French people, but it was so similar, and it made me start thinking about that. What makes me so different as a Native American to Mexican people? My people came from Maine, and you hear what Donald Trump says about Mexican people. And that's only like 1,000 miles from here, 1,500 miles from here. What makes me so different? What makes my heritage so different? Just because my people came from over here and Mexican people came from over here. When you're talking about the whole earth, the whole universe, I'm not so different. I'm all, as a matter of fact, there's more similarities. And that's what I saw in my grandmother, in my friend's kitchen. I almost said my grandmother's kitchen because it reminded me so much of my grandmother's kitchen. And it just when I saw that, I'm like, the Puerto Rican people and all people you see the similarities, and I ask myself, and I look at these people, and then I hear people like Tony Hinchcliffe, this comedian, talk about the island of garbage, and I think about Donald Trump and everything, how he denied the hurricane help to Puerto Rico, and how he went down there with the rolls of bounty paper, throwing them out. That's how he helped Puerto Rico. Remember that? The Trump supporters I know actually denied that. They said that never happened, that was all AI, that Trump would never do that, that he would never go down there and insult the Puerto Rican people by throwing out paper towels. And I don't know if they're lying, if they're denying it, they really know it's true, or if they really believe it's not. That's just the whole thing with Trump supporters. It's just either are they stupid, or are they just ignorant, or are they lying and they don't believe what they're supporting. This stuff scares me. I don't know how things are going to go. I don't see anything good coming in the next couple of weeks. I hate to say that. I hate to be a harbinger of doom, but if Kamala Harris wins, I know what Donald Trump is going to do. He's pretty much telegraphed it already, that he's not going to agree with it. Matter of fact, at this rally, I think it was, I don't know if it was Stephen Miller. No, it was actually Tucker Carlson that said is already setting up this thing about how Democrats are going to cheat. If Kamala Harris wins, it's only because they cheated. He actually said this at the rally. So they're already setting this up. So, if Kamala Harris wins, what's going to happen. There's no way on earth that Donald Trump's going to walk away from this. He's going to say they cheated, and it's going to make January 6th look like a freaking walk in the park. If Donald Trump wins, I can only imagine what this country is going to turn into. It scares me. because Donald Trump talks about the enemy within, which he talked about at this rally. And I feel like he's talking about me. He's talking about people like me. He's talking about other YouTubers. He's talking about Bo the Fifth Column. You know, he's talking about other liberal, Democrat-leaning YouTubers. We are the enemy within. And sicking the army on people like us. I can only imagine what this country is going to turn into. And I don't think I'm overestimating this. I really don't. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say this. God help us. Have a good Monday.